Hi, good morning. Looks like it's the last Monday of the year 2019. It's been awesome. It's been amazing. It's been fun. It's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of tears and a lot of stress. But mostly it's been amazing because we have life. I have had really, really good health all year. Touch wood. You don't want to say that and then the next week, because I just recovered from a bad flu. So I'm so sorry. I haven't brushed my hair today. I don't know. Anyway, so let's manage, please. It's the last Monday. I was born on a Monday, so I love Mondays. It's the last Monday of the year. And so we're going to wrap up. We've wrapped up on pushing through. We're going to, recall, I told you that we would discuss when to speak up, when to vocalize your voice. We spoke about living within your truth and finding your voice and all of that. Now we want to figure out when to actually vocalize your voice, especially in the areas of your life, in the area of a relationship, especially at work, with a superior, with colleagues, with friends, with your significant other and all of that. So we are going to be coming more today in the area of speaking up. But we have to also be conscientious of when we do the speaking, how we do the speaking, and what to do with the consequences after we've spoken up. So, or are you ready for the consequences? What are the consequences after you've spoken up? Because there's going to always be consequences after you have spoken up. So you have to be ready for the consequences when you do speak up. When you do speak up, things change, things happen. You sort of are shaking everything in your life when you do speak up. Are you ready for the shake-up? Are you ready for that change in your life when you do speak up? So let's talk about when do we speak up, especially when it's in the area of a work relationship. When do you speak up if, for instance, you're in a situation where you know that you're putting in your best at work, you know you never get to work late, you know you carry out all your tasks and you deliver them in time, and feedback on them are almost always positive, and yet somehow you are continuously in the same situation. You are not being moved forward. When do you speak up about that? Or in a situation where you seem to be the one to be picked on the most. If you were like me, if you are the female, and usually in the big meetings, you are one or two of the only females in those meetings, and most of them, the rest of the team members are men, older men and all of that. You would feel being picked on if, sometimes even when you want to speak or when you're speaking, it's as if no one is listening. When do you speak up in such situations? You have to consciously pick the moments to speak up, especially because such situations are very, very delicate. Your salary is in the balance. Your daily bread is in the balance. Your dependents, your family, and all of the rest of your plans, your investments, and all of that are in the balance in such a situation. And so you can't just get up and say, I am speaking up. You should, but you have to plan it properly. So you have to figure out when exactly to speak up in such a situation. The environment needs to be right. The timing has to be right. You make sure that it's not a situation where when you start speaking, there are such interruptions that you lose out of exactly what you want to say. For instance, sometimes you start saying something, a premise to what you want to say. It's not exactly what you wanted to say, but you're saying something so that the next thing you say, that clarifies it. If something interrupts at the wrong time, the message could be completely distorted, and you might get an outcome that you barely even ever imagined. And so you have to carefully plan out when to speak up. If it is in a social relationship, like your significant other or a good friendship, and things haven't been going the way they're supposed to go, or you want to make a change, like I said, before I left my job, even though he disagrees that we had a deep conversation about it, my husband and I, for years, I think for the 2 years before, I had been hinting about it. We had conversations, and then we had the final big conversation where he gave me the go ahead, and all of that. Such conversations, you have to be careful when you have them. You have to choose the timing, because whatever the reaction is, you must be ready for the reaction. Because if it's a situation where For instance, if it's a significant other and you're in a situation where you want to put your foot down on how certain things are going that you do not like or that are not in tandem with what you both had agreed on from the beginning, if you're not careful or if you haven't weighed the outcomes before speaking up, if you speak up at the wrong time, the consequences might be dire. And so you have to be conscious, you have to weigh out the time, you have to plan it out, and you have to make sure that it's done in a manner that both parties understand what the message is supposed to be. And how do you do it? How do you speak out? It depends on the situation, especially when it's in a social setting, if it's a significant other, if it's a friend, if it's a colleague. Usually, a detailed conversation can work. Usually you can, because they know you and they know your quirks and they know what works with you and what doesn't work with you. In such situations, I think you can, how do I say it? It can be informal, it can be over lunch, it can be, in a situation where everybody is happy, but then you're speaking up and you're saying, well, things are going this way, I'd prefer that because this is how I feel about this and all of that. Use all of the tools that a good conversation or a good communication is supposed to have. Don't blame the other person, don't be emotional, take out your personal, prejudices and all of that, and just focus on the thing that you want handled, so that the conversation is not diverted unnecessarily. So you have to be conscious how you say it. When it is in a work setting, especially if it's with a superior or even an investor, if you're like me and you want to do your own thing and you just started doing your own thing and you need to speak with an investor, how to speak up, it's critical because that's a completely different situation. It's almost like a pitch, So in this case, you have to prepare properly. You have to have in advance notes in front of you so that you do not lose your voice just when you start. And you do not say the wrong thing and you do not get emotional and all of that. So in a setting where it is formal, especially when it has to do with your income or customers or, such delicate situations, you have to be formal in the way you approach it. So you have to prepare in advance. It's better to even have notes in advance, talking points, what you want to say, what the outcomes should be, and how you want to end it so that, both of you are on the same page by the time you step out of that office. And then what exactly do you want to say? Whatever you want to say, you must go over it in your head. If possible, go over it with a neutral person to see that there's no ambiguity in how you say it, so that you don't say the wrong thing or it's not received different from what you intended. So what you want to say, you must have planned it earlier. You must have at least had a conversation with somebody else about it for them to confirm or for them to, maybe one or two people even, so that the understanding or the message you want to project is received exactly as you intended it to be. So there's no misunderstanding, especially, I'm reiterating, especially where it's in the area of your career or your business, or your customers. It's very, very critical that you are extremely careful before having that conversation. Know exactly what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, and when to say it. And then you must weigh the consequences of speaking up. That's so, so crucial. You must weigh what the possible outcomes would be. You must weigh to the point where you weigh the worst possible reaction and the best possible reaction. I don't know if I've lost a friend, but a childhood friend of mine that I love to bits, she's like a sister. I think I spoke up at the wrong time, and I'm not sure if I've lost a friendship for good or not. But sometimes you must be careful when to speak up, and if you do not weigh the consequences of what saying that will result in, you might end up losing a lifelong relationship, and maybe you're not ready for that yet. So you have to have thought through carefully what the outcomes might be. Not just from your end, but what the outcomes might be from the person that you're speaking out with. Will they fire you because you spoke up? Will your boss react in a negative way? Will that investor walk away because you're raising an issue that they probably already know and didn't want to talk about it for certain reasons? Or will you lose that friendship? In my case, will you lose that very, very important friendship in your life that you thought was family just because you went ahead and spoke up? So you have to have thought about the consequences, and not just thought about them, but you must be ready for those consequences, because they do happen. And when they happen, you must be ready to accept those consequences. Otherwise, then buy your time. Is it bide? Yeah. Don't, figure out the right time to speak up, and be ready for whatever the outcomes will be before you do speak up. Because usually, and most of the time, when we speak up, the consequences would always, sometimes surprise us. But when you have thought through all the outcomes, the best possible outcome, the worst possible outcome, then you might, prepare yourself for whatever the results might be after having spoken out. So do think about the consequences. Weigh them if you're ready for them before you go ahead and have that all-important conversation. On this road of us becoming more, you just have to brace yourself and dare to break the chain of fear. Because if you continue to dwell within fear, if you continue to live within fear, nothing will work out. A few days ago, my partner decided, well, come and let's take stock of since you left the job and all of that. Because here is his life partner who was earning so much and was bringing so much to the table at one time, and suddenly it's not coming like that anymore. And we had agreed on some time that he would be supporting until, I'm fully on my feet and supporting as much as I was or better. And the time is running, forgetting that other things have happened. But, and initially I was going to get emotional about it, but I thought through it, I'm like, if I was in his shoes, I probably would be calling for such a conversation in 2 years or 2.5 years after you've left your such brilliant job, to chase your dream. So chasing your dream is tough. It's not an easy thing. Chasing your dream, you have to almost always even justify it to people that are so important to you, like a husband and your children and your siblings and parents and all of that. But it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the process. Don't get personal about it. I almost actually got it so, because I was hyperventilating before the conversation. But then when we started talking, and he was going on. My husband is very, very methodical. When he was systematically saying the things that he thinks, have you thought of this? Have you done that? Do you think you want to do this other thing and all of that? It started making sense, and I calmed down. I calmed myself down. I was self-coaching internally whilst he was talking. So, it's a journey. It's a process. It's not easy. It's tough. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of swallowing your pride. It's a lot of pushing through when the going gets so tough. And just keep on the journey and have faith. And, keep burning that midnight candle. Because I think this morning when I was listening, somebody said, you don't have control over the intellect God gives you, the wisdom God gives you. All you have control over is how hard you work, how much you push through. When you go to that gym, are you the last to get off the treadmill? Are you the one running instead of just walking? Are you the one, he said, he was like, I will be the hardest worker. That I have control over. I don't have control over whether I'm intelligent enough, or I'm smart enough, or I know the technology better than the other person. What I have control over is the fact that I will work harder than everybody else. And so just push through, work as hard as you can, and let's pray that God blesses our efforts with success. So thank you for being on this journey of becoming more with me. I think this is going to be our last recording for the year 2019. I will see you in the new year. I hope you did have an amazing time. I had a chilled holiday, Christmas with the family on the couch, especially because of the flu. So I'm hoping to turn it up in the new year and have some amazing opening of the year fun. And I'll share with you when we come back in the new year. So do have an amazing New Year celebration, and I'll see you in 2020. Thanks for being on this journey of becoming more with me. It's me, Untitled.